Ladies, I need you to hear me today. Not just with your ears, but with your heart. See, too many women are sitting around thinking a man is confused. You're calling your girlfriend, scrolling through relationship quotes, trying to decode his silence, his hot and cold behavior, like he's some mystery you need to solve. But let me tell you something. He probably won't. He ain't confused. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's testing you. When a man is giving you mixed signals, acting distant one moment and sweet the next, you might be tempted to say, he's just confused. He doesn't know what he wants, but let me be real with you. He's not confused at all. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's testing you. That man is putting you through a quiet test, watching your every move, seeing how you'll respond, how much you'll tolerate, and how far you'll go to prove your worth to him. It's a strategy, not a struggle. He's not lost. He's deliberate. See, when a man doesn't want you, you'll know. When a man truly wants you, you'll never have to guess. But when a man is unsure or keeping you hanging, that's the danger zone. That's where women end up wasting months, sometimes years, thinking, hoping, praying he'll eventually figure it out. But he already figured it out. The question is, have you? He's already decided what lane to put you in. You're either the one he wants to invest in, the one he keeps for convenience, or the one he's stringing along until someone better comes along in his mind. It's not confusion, it's classification. He's observing how easy it is to keep you with the bare minimum effort. He might text you just enough to keep you emotionally tied, but not enough to build something real. He might show up when it's convenient, then disappear when you need him the most. And here's where the test begins. He wants to see if you'll question your value or start working harder for his attention. He's not just watching what you say, he's watching what you allow. He's seeing if you'll chase him, check in when he goes silent, or defend him to your friends, even when you know deep down he's not showing up right. Now, here's the truth most people don't want to say. A man will test your limits before he commits to anything. He'll test your patience, your self-respect, and your standards. He'll test your silence, your forgiveness, your loyalty. And every time you let him slide, every time you excuse his behavior, every time you give him access without requirements, you're passing his test while failing your own. You're proving that he doesn't have to change, doesn't have to try harder, doesn't have to grow, because you're willing to wait, to compromise, to carry the emotional weight of the relationship alone. That's not love. That's you being enrolled in a test you didn't even sign up for. See, a real man doesn't need to test you to know your worth. A man who is ready, who's done with games, who sees a future, he's not out here trying to figure out if you're worthy. He's trying to prove to you that he is. A grown man with intention doesn't disappear to clear his mind. He doesn't ignore your needs to see if you're patient. He steps up. He locks in. He brings clarity, not confusion. So when a man is acting uncertain and inconsistent, don't confuse that with depth or complexity. It's a test. And the way you respond is what determines what comes next. Now, let's talk about response. Too many women are giving gold and accepting dust. You're loyal to a man who hasn't even shown up consistently. You're faithful to a man who still calls you friend in public. You're patient with a man who's made it clear he's not ready. And every time you stay, every time you sacrifice more of your peace and your power, you're telling him, you don't have to give me more. I'll accept less. That's what he's really testing. He's not checking if you love him. He knows that already. He's checking if you love yourself enough to walk away. Don't be fooled by the drama. Some of these men create chaos just to see how much you'll take. They disappear just to see if you'll chase. They cancel plans just to see if you'll reschedule. And if you keep saying yes, If you keep justifying his behavior, you're reinforcing his belief that he can have you without effort, without clarity, without commitment. He's not confused, he's calculating. He's figuring out what he can get from you while giving the least of himself. You have to remember, you teach people how to treat you. Every time you respond with softness when he's showing up with silence, you're showing him that your heart is more available than your standards. Every time you make excuses for his behavior, you're confirming that you'll settle for potential over consistency. And the more you do that, the more you feed into his test. He sees you bending over backwards and thinks, she's not going anywhere. I don't have to step up. And he won't, because you already did it for him. Let me say this loud and clear. You are not on trial. You are not a lab experiment. You are not something to be tested, evaluated, or picked apart. You are the prize. And when you act like it, the right man will rise to meet you. But as long as you stay in a space where you're constantly trying to prove your worth, trying to win his affection, trying to convince him that you're the one, you'll keep attracting men who see love as a power play, not a partnership. That man you're worried about, the one who keeps pulling away, keeps sending mixed signals, keeps saying, I'm just not ready, he's not stuck. He's not scared. He's not emotionally broken. He's observing. He's noting how easy it is to keep you without choosing you. He's learning that he doesn't have to commit to still get the benefits of your presence, your time, your loyalty. And until you disrupt that cycle, he'll keep running the same test, getting the same results. So what do? You stop playing, you stop proving, you stop accepting less than what you know you deserve. You stop waiting for him to figure it out and start walking in your own clarity. Because the moment you show a man that you don't need to be tested to be trusted, that you don't need to chase to be chosen, is the moment the game ends. And that's the moment you take your power back. A man will never tell you this out loud, but when he starts pulling back, when his energy shifts, when the messages slow down and the affection gets scarce, that's not him being lost or unsure. That's him conducting a quiet little experiment. He's not confused, baby. He's testing you. He's trying to figure out what kind of woman you are. Will you wait? Will you chase? Will you break your own rules for him? Will you keep pouring from your cup while his remains untouched? See, a lot of women think love is about being patient while a man sorts himself out. But in reality, many men already know what they're doing. They just want to know what you'll allow. You've got to understand, sometimes a man will deliberately hold back affection just to see how addicted you are to it. He'll stop complimenting you just to see if you'll beg for validation. He'll pull away emotionally to check whether you'll pull harder. If he senses that you'll fight to keep him, even when he's no longer fighting for you, that's all the confirmation he needs. He's not wrestling with his feelings. He's watching you, learning your patterns, figuring out just how little he can give while still getting everything from you. The truth is, many women are so eager to prove they're ride or die, they end up riding through pain and dying inside for a man who never earned that kind of loyalty. You think you're showing him love, but what you're really showing is that your boundaries are flexible, that your standards bend under pressure, that your self-respect has a price, and he's figuring out how low that price goes. Because if you're willing to tolerate being ignored, misled, disrespected, or dismissed just to keep him around, then in his mind, he's got all the power. You've probably seen it play out. He starts canceling plans, forgetting important dates, giving you less and less of himself. And you, instead of pulling back, start doubling down. You reach out more. You become extra available. You try harder to keep his interest. You start convincing yourself that he's just going through something. But let me tell you this, when a man is genuinely going through something and he still respects you, he'll communicate that. He won't make you feel like a burden or an option. He won't weaponize his silence. That cold behavior, that lack of effort, that's a test. He wants to see how long you'll hold on when he's no longer reaching for you. And it's not always cruel or intentional. Sometimes it's just how some men are wired. They want to feel secure in your attachment before they offer you theirs. They want to know that they can slip up, disappear, or treat you halfway and you'll still be there. It strokes their ego. It reassures them. But what they're not expecting is for you to recognize the test and walk away. That's when the game flips. That's when the man who is cool and distant starts to panic. Because when you stop proving your love and start prioritizing your peace, you disrupt the whole pattern. Let me make this clear. Every time you allow inconsistency, every time you reward emotional distance with emotional closeness, you train him. You teach him that your love is unconditional, even in the absence of respect. You show him that your forgiveness is automatic, your patience endless. And once he learns that, he'll never rise to meet your value because he doesn't have to. He already has you. And he didn't even have to show up fully to get it. Some of you are taking breadcrumbs and trying to bake a whole loaf of love out of it. You're holding on to memories, potential, flashes of affection, and calling it commitment. You keep telling yourself, he just needs time. But how long are you going to keep delaying your own happiness for someone who's still deciding whether you're worth showing up for? That's not loyalty. That's self-abandonment. That's you trying to pass his test at the cost of failing your own. And here's the thing. When a man is serious about you, he doesn't need to test you. He's not out here seeing how much he can take before you break. He's protecting your heart, not poking at it. He wants to build something, not break you down to see if you'll rebuild yourself just to keep him. So when a man is inconsistent, emotionally unavailable, always confused, don't mistake that for depth or vulnerability. It's not love trying to blossom. It's manipulation trying to hide. You've got to wake up to your worth. A woman who knows who she is doesn't audition for love. She doesn't beg, chase, or settle. She doesn't stay where she's tolerated just because she sees potential. She doesn't let a man's uncertainty become her anxiety. And she definitely doesn't allow herself to be tested over and over by someone who still hasn't even earned her loyalty. You don't prove your value to a man, you embody it. You show up whole, and if he can't meet you there, then he's not for you. The moment you stop being afraid to lose him is the moment you gain clarity. When you stop overanalyzing every message, every gesture, every delay, when you stop making excuses for what you feel deep down is a lack of effort, that's when you free yourself. Because the longer you keep convincing yourself that he's just confused, the longer you stay stuck in a cycle where your peace depends on his choices. And that's no way to live. You want to know if he's testing you? Watch his patterns. Is he consistent? Is he present? Is he growing with you? Or is he distant when you need him close? Silent when you ask for clarity? Dismissive when you ask for more? Because that silence isn't confusion. That inconsistency isn't complexity. That distance isn't emotional growth. It's all part of the test. And when you recognize it for what it is, you get to decide whether you'll keep playing or whether you'll walk away and choose something better. There comes a point where you have to stop lying to yourself about what you're seeing. When a man begins to change, when the calls grow fewer, the texts dry up, when he stops planning ahead and starts living day by day with you as an afterthought, that's not confusion, that's intention, that's strategy. He's not wrestling with himself in some emotional tug of war, he's observing you. He wants to see how far he can stretch you before you finally snap. And if you never do, if you keep adjusting yourself to his silence, justifying his laziness, making excuses for the emotional distance, he'll keep doing it. He's testing your tolerance, not your love. Most women don't realize when this test begins because it doesn't always look harsh, it's subtle. It starts with him skipping your call one evening. Then he says, "I've just been busy." You accept it. Next time, he goes 2 days without texting. Then he stops initiating anything romantic. And still, you accept it. He gives you less and watches if you'll keep giving more. If you keep showing up for someone who keeps pulling away, you're teaching him that you will love him no matter how poorly he shows up. You think you're showing devotion, but in his eyes, you're showing him that he doesn't have to work for your presence, your heart, or your time. That's not confusion, it's calculated control. Some men use silence like a tool. They go quiet not because they don't know what to say, but because they know you'll come running. They back off emotionally, not because they need space, but because they want to see if you'll close the gap. That's not immaturity, that's deliberate. He's not confused about how he feels. He's testing whether you'll stay loyal when he stops deserving your loyalty. He's learning how far he can go before you set a boundary. And if you never do, he knows exactly how little he has to give to keep you holding on. Women have been taught that love is sacrifice, patience, endurance. And while those things have their place in real love, they should not be what you lean on in the absence of effort. You don't stay while someone disrespects you and call it commitment. You don't accept inconsistency and call it faith. You don't wait for someone to value you and call it strength. If he's not choosing you now, what makes you think he will later? If he's pulling away while you're pouring in, what does that say about the balance of power in the relationship? The truth is, he already made his decision. He's not confused. He's watching to see if you will make yours. And here's the thing, men respect boundaries more than affection. You can give a man all your love, all your time, all your energy, and still get treated like an option. But the moment you say, I'm not doing this anymore, the moment you stop responding to his inconsistency with patience and start responding with distance, that's when he starts paying attention. Because now he's the one unsure. Now you're not reacting the way he expected. And if he truly values you, that's when he'll step up. If he doesn't, he'll fade away. Either way, you win. Because you get clarity. You stop waiting. You stop failing a test you didn't even agree to take. Don't confuse effort with interest. Some men will do just enough to keep you guessing. They'll be kind here and there, affectionate in waves, romantic when they sense you're slipping away. But it's not consistent. It's not stable. It's not growing. You feel stuck because every time you think about leaving, he gives you just a little bit of what you've been craving. And then you stay. That's the game. It's the test. He's not giving you his heart. He's giving you enough to keep yours occupied. Women often think they're being patient with a man who just needs time, but here's the difference. A man who wants to be with you will take that time with you, not away from you. He won't disappear to think. He won't ghost you to figure himself out. He'll communicate. He'll reassure you. He'll let you into the process. Silence is not thinking. Silence is testing. And the longer you stay in that space, the longer you stay confused, the more control he has over how this relationship plays out. It's not about whether he's confused. It's about whether you're willing to keep entertaining confusion. You're the one being tested, not him. He wants to see how much of your peace, your confidence, your energy, your time he can consume without giving you clarity. And every time you answer his distance with concern, every time you try to fix the emotional disconnect, every time you reach out first, you're giving him data. You're confirming that he's still the center of your world, even when he's not showing up in yours. There's power in silence, too. Not the kind he uses to manipulate you, but the kind you can use to reclaim your worth. The kind where you stop explaining yourself, stop begging for answers, stop waiting for change. You let his actions speak and you listen. You don't try to rewrite what's clearly being written. If his energy is inconsistent, if his presence is unreliable, if his words don't match his actions, you let that be enough to walk away. You don't wait for a man to finally say you deserve better. You already know that. The real question is, will you act like it? Some of you are exhausted, not because of what he's doing, but because of what you're tolerating. You're tired from carrying both sides of the relationship. You're drained because you're constantly questioning your worth. And that's the real damage of the test. He's not just measuring your behavior, he's wearing down your spirit. And the longer you stay, the more you shrink. The more you shrink, the more you lose sight of your own value. But here's what you need to remember. You were whole before he came along. You had clarity, peace, confidence. You don't need to earn love from someone who's supposed to give it freely. You don't need to pass a man's test to be worthy. You just need to recognize the game and choose to stop playing it. That's when everything changes. When a man starts changing his tone, when he stops calling like he used to, when his interest feels like it's slipping just enough for you to notice, but not enough for him to completely disappear. That's not confusion. That's a deliberate pattern. That's him shifting into test mode. And most women don't even realize they've been enrolled. You keep thinking something must have happened, that maybe you said the wrong thing, maybe he's just stressed, maybe his job is overwhelming. But while you're drowning in overthinking, he's calm. Because he already knows what he's doing. He's stepping back to see what you'll do in response. And your response is exactly what he wants to learn about. Not who you are when things are good, but how you behave when you feel uncertain, unwanted, and unstable. That's what he's watching. And if you panic, if you start chasing, if you start doubting your worth or begging for reassurance, he now knows how easily your emotions can be manipulated. He knows that the moment he pulls back, you'll rush in to fix, to plead, to talk things out. That's the reaction he was looking for, because in his mind, if you're willing to do all the work to hold this thing together while he puts in minimal effort, he's passed his own test, not the test of whether you love him, but the test of how much control he has over you. A man who is ready to lead a relationship with purpose doesn't test your pain threshold. He doesn't play tug of war with your heart. But the man who's unsure about you or sure that you'll take whatever he gives is the man who uses silence, withdrawal, and inconsistency to gauge your breaking point. The test is subtle. It might start with a delay in texting back or him showing less interest in your day. It might show up in how he suddenly needs space, even though he was the one pushing for closeness just a week ago. And when you ask what's going on, he avoids the question. He shrugs it off, says, it's nothing. And right there, you're thrown into confusion. You go from feeling loved to feeling tolerated, from being seen to being invisible. But instead of walking away or pausing to reevaluate, you do what many women have been conditioned to do. You try harder. You love harder. You give more to compensate for what he's withholding. That right there is what he was testing. Not whether you care, but how much self-respect you're willing to set aside for a maybe. You don't need to be tested like this. Love is not supposed to be an exam where you have to guess the right answer to keep someone around. You are not someone's project. You are not supposed to be put through trials to see if you're good enough. And yet too many women stay in these situations hoping that if they just hang on long enough, he'll finally wake up and realize their worth. But that's not how it works. A man who truly sees your worth doesn't risk losing you to test your loyalty. He protects your heart. He brings clarity, not chaos. So when a man's actions start making you question everything, you've got to ask yourself, is this love or is this a test I didn't agree to take? What many women don't realize is that by sticking around during this testing phase, they start losing pieces of themselves. You start lowering your standards. You start allowing things you once said you never would. You tolerate disrespect disguised as mood swings. You downplay your needs. You start accepting inconsistency as if it's normal. And even worse, you begin to think you deserve it. That's how emotional manipulation works. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it shows up in silence, in waiting, in little disappointments that you slowly get used to. And while he's out here observing how much you'll bend, you're forgetting that you even have boundaries. Because every time you ignore your gut feeling and stay, every time you excuse his lack of effort, every time you say, maybe he just needs time, you're sending a message, not just to him, but to yourself. You're telling yourself that his confusion matters more than your clarity, that his comfort matters more than your peace. That's what keeps so many women trapped in cycles where they're constantly giving more and receiving less. But here's the truth. If a man is truly serious about you, he won't test you. He won't make you jump through emotional hoops to prove your worth. He won't leave you wondering where you stand because he already knows what he wants and he'll move accordingly. He'll be consistent. He'll communicate. He'll make sure you never feel like you have to earn his attention or beg for his time. So the next time a man starts changing, the next time he pulls back and leaves you hanging in silence, don't jump into damage control. Don't start chasing. Don't start doubting yourself. Pause. Observe, protect your peace. And if what you see doesn't match what you know you deserve, walk away. You don't win by proving you can pass his test. You win by refusing to take it in the first place. Because love should never feel like a challenge you have to conquer. It should feel like a choice, one made clearly, confidently, and consistently. And if he can't offer that, then the real test isn't for you. It's for him. Let him fail it. Let him learn that a woman who knows her worth will never compete for clarity. She will never beg for love. She will never stay confused for long. She will choose herself every time. And that is the kind of woman no man can play with, not even once.